All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of Seated Around the House, a podcast for housing professionals brought to you by the Professional Development Committee of the Southeastern Association of Housing Officers. My name is Wesley Todd. I am the chair select of the Pro Devo Committee, and
I'm Liz Ingrao, and I serve as the chair of the Professional Development Committee.
we will be your host and moderator for today. Today's topic is preparing for SEAHO 2026 in
Woohoo!
Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Before we begin, the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by the host and guest on this podcast are solely for their own and do not reflect the views, positions, or policies of any college, university, employer, or professional association. All discussions are intended for general information, education, and dialogue. No podcast content should be considered official communication or policy guidance from any institution. Any examples discussed have been generalized, de-identified, or fictionalized to protect privacy. Participation in this podcast is voluntary, and the host reserve the right to edit recordings for clarity, privacy, and legal compliance. So, with that being said, I would love to kick it over and let our guests and panelists introduce themselves. Go ahead, y'all.
Kenzo, go ahead first.
All right. Well, since I was called out, that's fine. I will go first.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Kinzel Hill. I work at Virginia Commonwealth University as the Assistant Director of Residential Life for Conduct and Care. So that's my day job. But my SEAHO job, which is increasingly feeling a little bit more increasing on that as we're leading up to the conference, is that I have the privilege to serve as the current chair of the Corporate Partners Committee.
Emily? Oh, Chardonnay. Nope, Chardonnay, go.
I was just going with the flow.
You're fine.
Uh, Hi, I am Chardonnay Davis, currently serving as Assistant Director for Residential Life at the University of Miami, and I serve as a committee member for the SEAHO Professional Development.
And hi, everyone. I am Emily Chavez Nunez. I serve as an assistant director for residence life at Florida Gulf Coast University. And my SEAHO job is I am your program chair and very excited to welcome you all to Winston-Salem in a few weeks.
Woohoo! All right, so let's get this party started, and we're gonna just do a quick round robin of each of you telling us what is your best tip for having a successful SEAHO conference if you are going to Winston-Salem.
So sure, I can start us out because me being me, when Liz kind of sent the questions, I like started processing, and I'm just like, I don't want to ramble because I'm known for rambling. So I'm sure I'm also going to ramble, and I'm also not known for being short and sweet to the point. But anyway, we will endeavor. So honestly, best tip for having a successful SEAHO conference, I say take 15 minutes to download guidebook and do a little bit of planning. You do not have to it does not have to be like planning out, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. It doesn't have to be intensive, but I think it's important to just kind of get an idea, especially if you, again, never been to a SEAHO before, having the opportunity to kind of just see what's available because there are a lot of opportunities. So if you've been to a conference before, it is going to be similar, but, it is certainly larger. Yes, it's on a regional level, but SEAHO is a very large conference, even on the regional level. And so I just say take 15 minutes, download the guidebook, have the opportunity to look at some amazing sessions that Emily and the programming committee have reviewed and curated, but also checking out some of the corporate partners that are available in the exhibit hall is really going to be a great use of your time as well.
Well, Kenzel, we are very much on the same train of thought because that is very similar to the advice that I would offer. But I think as you are mapping out what your conference experience is going to look like, if you are an institution that is coming with multiple delegates, I encourage you to talk to each other about what your interests are and try to spread out as much as you can. We will have 11 program sessions during each of our time slots this year. And so there's a lot of phenomenal content. And so as you are figuring out what information you want to bring back to your campus, spread out so that way your team can get the most use of the knowledge and resources our presenters are excited to share with you.
And to add to all that lovely advice, I would say kind of maybe give yourself a theme. And so with planning, if you know I'm going in and this is the theme of the items that I want to learn and take back with me, either it's for your professional development or like personally, or maybe it's for your institute, just kind of going in with that mindset, and that will help you kind of plan so that way you're not all over the place. But then also researching some of the presenters. And so when you're going into the spaces, if you've already downloaded the guidebook, you know what sessions you're going to, and you know the presenters, it'll help you kind of curate questions for while you're in the space to get that deeper dive that they may not like present on. And when you leave the space, make sure you like get follow-up information, because you can get those presentations afterwards. You can contact the presenters afterwards. And so just keep that in mind.
Liz, did you want to share anything else on top of
I
what's already
can.
been?
I was gonna say, for those who are new, or if this is your first time at SEAHO, I would put yourself out there. I know it's super scary, but this is also a networking opportunity for you. So go to the involvement fair, go to the newcomers social, go to the exhibit hall, which we'll talk about later. But really get yourself out of the comfort zone and don't hang out with your institution. You see those people every single day. Make a new friend. And, you know, I know it's scary if you're like, I don't know any of these people. I don't know who to talk to. But all your people at your institution, after you talk to them about programs, try to like hang with other people, because I think it'll really expand your network, and really allow you to maybe meet some people that you never thought you needed in your life or in your professional life.
Mhm.
And so I would challenge you to make new friends, and the newcomer social and some other areas that I mentioned already are great places to start there.
And I think what I would tack on with is, especially for younger professionals or first-time attendees, the corporate partners area can be very intimidating. You don't really know what to expect. As somebody that is going on 20 years in the field, if I could go back and tell my younger version, some good advice would be to go in there with the mindset to just learn. I hear from a lot of younger professionals that, well, I'm not a buyer, I'm not a senior housing officer, I'm not these things, but you could be someday. And being able to build relationships in your early years can open up doors that you probably have no idea don't even exist right now. I mean, like I said, I've been doing this a while, and there are moments I go in there and I learn something brand new, and you would be amazed at how many of our corporate partners know about your institution or you through the network that you get through SEAHO. And on the other end of that is the SEAHO conference is just the tip of the iceberg for what SEAHO can do for you professionally. So when you go in and I look at this panel and I know all these people beyond just knowing their name. I know them personally. We have memories where we laugh and bring up things that have either taken place at Rely or at conferences. So go in there with the mindset to meet somebody new, and you'll probably be very impressed what that will do for you holistically. So those are my tips.
Yeah.
And going into our next question, in case you can't tell, I'm very introverted. That's a joke.
Lies.
I know it lies. But we do have this field has introverts, and I think it is important that we have a good balance between the two, because not everybody can be the one at the party breakdancing and doing the beatboxing and all that. So for those that do identify as the introverts on this podcast, what are your tips for introverts who attend SEAHO?
This is me, definitely. One of the biggest tips I have is taking time and space for yourself when needed. As an introvert, sometimes like you have to put on a face to kind of get to know new people and put yourself out there, and it could be draining. And so within your planning of your schedule, add in time slots of where you step away, you step outside, you take a breather, you have a snack, or even if like you're staying near where the conference is being hosted, you're going back to your room, you're taking a moment, listening to some music. It's very helpful to kind of regain that energy you have, because the energy you're putting out is what you're going to get back. And so say, for example, you're going to lunch and you're an introvert and you're by yourself. That could be very scary. Think back to like middle school where you're walking in the lunchroom. Where do you sit? Well, the tip is sit somewhere where you see another one or two people at a table and you don't know them. Sit down. Hi, how are you doing? Introduce yourself. And it instantly sparks a conversation because they were already sitting there alone. And so, just be yourself, take time for yourself, and put yourself out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I would 110% agree with Chardonnay. I think that for several of us on this call, we certainly identify as being an introvert. I think one of the great things about SEAHO and the running gag I tell people is that it's the 1 week I allow myself to be an extrovert during the year. And so at the end of each SEAHO, it's just like, all right, I'm conserving my social battery for an entire year, and I charge it up. And some, if I might go to a conference in between and it goes down a little bit, but I try to save it for SEAHO. And I think one of the best things that you can do if you are an introvert is to certainly pace yourself. And I'm sure if you see me at the conference, you're just like, oh, wow, that guy certainly seems extrovert. I promise you on the inside, I'm screaming internally. But and again, I think that, sometimes yes, maybe, it is a little bit of facade, but more so to the extent of, I'm putting myself out here. Challenge yourself. I think Liz had said, put yourself out there. And I think that as an introvert, putting yourself out there, having the opportunity to make a great connection. Because I think one of the things I kind of reminded myself, even from my first SEAHO, where Wesley was my mentor and I was his mentee. So he said it was his 20th SEAHO, so he's dating himself. So I get to interject that. But I think one of those important things is to realize that this is kind of low stakes. These are your people. We are your people. These are your housing people. We all know what it's like for us to be in our first SEAHO or in our first conference. And so, feel comfortable in this environment. If there's an environment you're just like, oh, like it's a little bit social awkward, that's okay. It's things are going to be socially awkward. And so I say that SEAHO is definitely the low stakes conference where you as an introvert have the opportunity to flourish. Because for some reason, some people think I'm an extrovert. I'm like, that is farthest from the truth.
I also identify as an introvert, and I will agree with the folks that are on this call. They've shared some really great tips already. I think the other thing to remember is that there's a variety of spaces for you at SEAHO. And so for your individuals that might feel more comfortable being able to turn to the person next to them in a program session, use that as your opportunity to connect. If it's over lunch, over in the Corporate Partners Center, kind of taking that time to do those pieces. And so there's a variety of opportunities for you to connect in various spaces. And so I think knowing yourself and knowing which of those environments is going to feel most comfortable for you to put yourself out there, and kind of having a goal of, as you're preparing for the conference, hey, during this session or this time, I really want to put myself out there. You don't have to put yourself out there in all of the spaces all day, but really kind of having those goals or spaces in mind as you start the week can really help as well.
Can I add to that really quickly?
Yeah.
Spaces, that is really important because also there's a lot of intimate spaces, which makes it easier as well. So thinking about like affinity groups, or if there's a fireside chat, like those intimate spaces can help you navigate easier as well.
And then I would add, too, I am not an introvert. I get tired. My battery drains, but it's not because I'm an introvert. But at the end of the day, I'm like, it's bedtime. But I would say too, I think about intimidating spaces that can be intimidating at SEAHO. So I think about like the opening session where everybody's together, or the exhibit hall. Find a friend. So if you want to go through the exhibit hall and you are not the person that's going to walk up and talk to a corporate partner, find a friend that can kind of be the bridge between the two. Because even if you say nothing, you can introduce yourself and just listen. Sometimes that's a little bit easier to do with a friend. So if you don't have anybody at your institution and you're the only person coming, grab one of us, grab anyone that's got like a little banner that they're on a committee, they're on something. All of us, I'm sure, will be more than happy to walk through any of those spaces with you. But really just, try to experience what you can and what your capacity is. But if you know yourself and you reach your capacity, it is okay to walk away. So know that as well, that's kind of part of the culture of SEAHO too, because we're not all able to be rah-rah all the time.
Chardonnay, I really appreciate you bringing up, intimate and vulnerable, and I also call them vulnerable moments. I know this group and whoever's watching get to see this, vibrant personality that I bring, but there are also moments where you let your guard down and you're amongst people that do the work with you every day. And I can only speak for myself and my experience. Sometimes it's just nice to be in a space and be able to kind of process what's been going on with somebody that is not at the same institution I'm at. To be able just to, I think about Kinzel, and when I want somebody to keep it real with me and give me real perspective, I can count on that from, moments that you don't even plan. Like I think we were in another SEAHO, and by chance we were in the same room and we were just kind of talking about life. And those are where those moments happen. It's not like, hey, we're going to meet up or anything. I remember Emily and I were at a corporate dinner in Charleston, and we kind of just talked about, how we were going through it in our own respective ways at this corporate dinner. And I mean, there are people all around us, everybody's having fun. But when you have those moments that provide, that intimacy and that, level to bring your guard down, the version that a lot of people get to see of me of the high energy Wesley and bring that, a lot of that just comes down to who I am as a person, because I'm around people that care about you, not just professionally, but those are those relationships that you've built through SEAHO and personally as well. So as you navigate and you think about that, you are amongst people that want you to succeed, and to be able to challenge yourself, if because believe it is harder for me to be vulnerable, but really finding a home and a group of people where that is a safe place for me has been invaluable in my career. So thank you for bringing that up, Chardonnay. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. And I know a couple of us have talked about this thing called the exhibit hall. So, Kenzel, maybe you can talk to us a little bit about how you would let someone know how to maximize their time with our corporate partners and in the exhibit hall.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that, and I will be the first to admit the exhibit hall is intimidating. It can be intimidating, but it also can be a great opportunity to network and learn. What I would always preface is say, first and foremost, SEAHO is a educational conference. And so always make sure you go to your programming sessions. Do you have to go to every single programming session? That's a conversation between you and your supervisor. But, and I'm sure Emily would appreciate that, but there is specific dedicated time built into the conference to come to the exhibit hall. And also, times outside that are specifically defined to come visit the exhibit hall. And so what I would advise is a little bit, kind of like a little bit earlier, sharing about looking over the guidebook. Look over the guidebook to see what companies, what corporate partners are going to be there. Have the opportunity to maybe speak with your senior housing officer, or maybe whoever is the person that makes a lot of the purchasing decisions in your department, maybe the procurement person or budget and finance person, to see what are the services and companies that you all use on your home campus. That's a great opportunity to, one, first and foremost, go to SEAHO and say like, hey, we use your product on campus. But also that's an opportunity to give feedback to a company, sometimes directly, to say like, hey, we use your product on campus. We love it. It's a great product. Or we use it. There's some problems or challenges we're having. What solutions do you have? So really, it's a great opportunity to get face time with representatives from the company. But also, if you have a problem on your campus too, again, you're going to have the list of all the companies that are going to be there, who are attending SEAHO, and so you have the opportunity to maybe see like, hey, I can talk with this technology company for maybe I'm experiencing some type of maybe recruitment and selection problem, or maybe I have a problem with construction or design or something such as that. There are a wide variety of companies that are going to be in the exhibit hall for that. So, again, how do you maximize your time in the exhibit hall? Do a little bit of pre-planning beforehand, and also just sometimes have the opportunity to walk around and just see who's there, maybe a company that you've never seen before or interacted with, or you just don't really know what they're doing, and just go out and say hi and thanks for coming to SEAHO.
From the introvert's perspective, going to space being curious. A lot of these companies, they have new things happening as well. And so just walking up saying, hey, like what's new, what's coming, up and coming with your company, that we would benefit from as an institute, or, just as housing or anything in general, and kind of think about your day-to-day work and what it is that you do. What are some things that you think could make your job a little more efficient, a little more fun, and go to those vendors and see what they have to offer. even if you are not the decision maker, you don't control the funding, you can still have an impact. You can write a proposal for your team based off of information you learn. Because sometimes it's that small like tidbit of note of like, I saw this at SEAHO conference. Maybe we should look into it. And the person who is managing the money is like, maybe tell me more, give me a proposal. How is this going to benefit us? How is it going to save us money? Whatever the case may be. And so just walk in the space, being curious, they're there to answer your questions and to kind of show you things. And so there's nothing to really be afraid of.
I think on the note of there's nothing to be afraid of, I think it's also important to remember these are just people. And for many of our camp or corporate partners, they're folks who previously served in roles on campuses. They're great colleagues, they're great connection points, and they're really just fun. And so remember that those days can also be long for them. And so sometimes it's nice to just be the friendly face to just say, hey, just wanted to check in, introduce myself to you. And as you kind of continue your time in SEAHO, seeing those corporate partners come back, there's a lot of really great opportunities for relationship building there too. And so, in addition to all of the great things they have to offer, just remember they're great people too.
Yeah, being on the facility side, the people part, I love campus partner days when we get to go in with corporate partners because these are people that I see sometimes more than my colleagues that are in the office on the res life side or what have you. And these are times that, to that point, there's a little bit of business being discussed, but I know what their kids' names are. I know what they do outside of this, and being able to tie that human element to it is amazing. I mean, especially, you know, I said it, Kinzel reaffirmed it, affirmed it. We had a whole conversation. Don't worry about it, y'all. It's between us. But when you've been doing this work as long as we have, and you have built these relationships as long as that you have, I consider those just as valuable as the relationships. Same with the people on this call or others throughout higher ed. I mean, they are. Emily said it really well. That a lot of them have done the work that we're doing now, and have gone on to work for higher ed adjacent companies, so they understand what we deal with and how their products help us manage our day to day or whatever it may be. So when you go in and you go in with that mindset that, they know who's ultimately going to sign the purchase order or something. They know that. They probably just want to get to know you and tell you something a little bit about their product again. And if you're not the person that can make the decision, when you do get to that point, you can remember, hey, at SEAHO 2026 in Winston-Salem, I had this conversation with so and so with this corporate partner. I think they have a service that could benefit us. So go in there just to have a good time as well. So, Liz?
Yeah, I would say for me, a couple things. Bring your business cards because I don't know about you all, but I have a lot of them and I don't really use them anymore. So they have lots of raffles, lots of, things in there. But also, if you end up having a great conversation with a corporate partner, hand them your business card and, kind of share the love there. The other piece I would say that I love doing is when I'm walking around the exhibit hall and I see like a mattress vendor that no one is talking to, I will sit and just be like, "Hi, how are you? Tell me about your product," because they're there too, and there's some corporate partners that like people just don't gravitate towards, especially if they're like, "Oh, I don't need mattresses." I love to find that one booth that like nobody is at, and you could tell the person's just itching to talk to someone. I'll just sit and talk. So if you have the comfort level to just do that, that's my favorite thing to do in the exhibit hall. And they 9 times out of 10, they're like, "This is the first conversation I've had this long all day." Cool. I'm glad I can make your SEAHO experience great. Like, and there's a couple that will have that throughout, for a variety of reasons. But I challenge you to find that one that like isn't getting traffic, but is still there, you know, say hi and have a conversation with them.
Classic
Yeah.
right people. But no, we do love that. Like that is appreciative, and I appreciate you that you do that. And if you see that, please do that as well. Because again, they're there for a long day. You're there for a long day. Let's make the most of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the program sessions. So Emily, we'll start with you. What do you think is the best way to go about selecting which programs you attend?
So once guidebook becomes available, there will be a variety of program tracks. So earlier in our conversation, we talked a little bit about how if there's something that you know you're seeking, we have a variety of tracks that might be able to help you find that content. And so if you are in the operations side of the house, there's a track for you. There's stuff on conduct and student behavior, legal issues, supervision, talent management, all kinds of things. There's, I think, 11 or 12 different tracks that we have to offer this year. So that is a great place for you to start if you know that there is a content area you really want to seek at the conference. In addition, we will share all of the presenters list. And so if there's someone who you've had the opportunity to hear speak before, that's coming back, you can see if they'll be on our presenters list. We also have a ton of brand new first-time presenters. And so if you are one of those folks, we are very, very excited to be able to hear the content that you have. And so if there's someone that you know is a leader within our field and it's something that you're trying to get more information on, you can also sort by presenters to see if that is an option for you. And then this year, for our folks that have the certification through a COOI, we have a number of sessions that are going to earn you CE credits. And so if that applies to you and you are looking for that content, you can also filter by that. And so there's a variety of different ways to kind of use our filters and kind of see what content might be out there. But also all of our programs will have a brief description of what you can expect during the session, as well as who those presenters are. And so if you're not sure and where you want to start, click through and see if any of those program descriptions seem interesting to you. And then you'll have the opportunity to flag those throughout your conference schedule, and then go back and kind of make some decisions about which of those sessions might be the best fit for you.
And just for, again, a shout out in reference to programs, again, there's great program quality at SEAHO, and I think sometimes, you'll go to a program session and you will see a large number of people in there. And in fact, there might be more people than there are seats in that room. And I'm probably guilty of that, maybe staying when I shouldn't, but would certainly encourage you, like if you see a session is full, head to another session, just because, if you think you're losing out on that, trust us, you're not. Like Emily said, you're going to get, like, you have and can see who is doing the program. And one of the great things about it, even the information on Guidebook, you can always follow up with them after the session. Like, I don't know, I've never known anyone who said, no, I'm not going to spend 30 minutes with you after the conference to talk about my program even more. Like that's just unheard of. That's something that's not going to happen. So I think you definitely have a great way to start the program. And sometimes, to be honest, sometimes it's just vibes based. Just find a program based on vibes.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar, Kenzel, like have a backup, because there are some sessions that are most likely going to get full before you get there. And so that you're not trying to figure out, which program am I going to next? Have like 2 or 3 saved in your guidebook so that you have options. Because our programs, some of them are more get more popular based on their description might be really cool. And so people are going to go because that's a vibe. And so they're going to go. And so, yeah, have a backup plan for the programs that you're going to. The other piece I would say with programs, and I know this was true for me early in my career, there's always like these seasoned professionals that you see around. You've heard them keynote, you've heard them do things at a variety of functions, and you're like, I aspire to want to talk to this person. See if they're presenting a program and go to their program. And if you can't go to their program, find them after and use that as an opportunity to make a connection for, those professionals that you kind of see and you're in awe of, or you're afraid to talk to said person. But it could be a safer space for you to get connected with them at a program that they might be presenting. So I'll throw that out there too, because that's been helpful for me as well.
I'll throw 2 things out there. The first, sometimes it's really easy just to gravitate to what you know. It is really easy for me to find the facilities stuff and go to it. Challenge yourself to go to sessions that don't just sit in the area that you work in every day. Again, if you see yourself being a senior housing officer one day, or maybe you don't know where your path's going to take you, go in and, if anything, learn something new. It may not be something that you see yourself doing, but what could the harm be in taking that knowledge and never knowing when it could pop up? The second one that I'm going to say is I always have a lot of love for the presenters that go on Friday morning. And anybody that's been to see, I feel a lot for the people that present Friday morning, Friday period. There was a while I was anchoring a lot of Friday presentations, either because it was for Rely or it's because then I was slated. I know by that point our introverts have extroverted as much as their introverts can. The extroverts have really extroverted and they're looking for their sleep at that point. But I would say those our colleagues have put just as much work into those sessions as all the others that did it, the days beforehand. Make effort to go support them because that the best way, and I say this CEO whatever, when I mentor, the best way that you can show respect to somebody is to give them your time. And I go back to what you have worked out with your supervisor or will work out with your supervisor is up to you. But I would strongly encourage you make that effort. I realize it's going to be the last day, but they are really wanting to share that knowledge with somebody. So.
I would also say the same for the roundtables. I feel like a lot of times people see the roundtables and maybe there's not a roundtable in a functional area that you are involved with. So they're like, cool, I got a break. But same goes for that. If people are going to be facilitating and having that same space open to dialogue, to connect, to maybe get some like, yep, I'm going through this too, and I'm not the only one. So I encourage you to take advantage of the roundtable times as well.
So we kind of talked about the best way to select a program you want to attend, but what if you're somebody that wants to present something and doesn't really know, how to go about that? So to our guests, what do you tell people that say, I want to present a program, but I don't know where to start?
So I think that this is a really great question as you go into SEAHO this year. As you're looking through the guidebook, we have a wonderful selection of programs for you this year. But if you're noticing something that feels like a gap of something that you were looking for, that's a really great place to start. I think remembering that if you are having an idea or something is coming up for you at this conference or at your home institution, likely that's probably occurring for other folks across our region as well. And so take note of those things. As you're making those connections, as we've been talking about throughout this podcast, talk to them about what's going on in their lives. See if there's some commonality or some ideas that you might spark for next year. And then in terms of kind of gearing up past the idea stage, our program committee we'll host annual programs every year over the summer to help you with writing your program proposals. We also have a variety of resources on our website that kind of live on the conference pages, and so we encourage you to check those out. You can also see the content areas that we typically offer, so you can kind of get a better sense of what we are recruiting for every year. And so definitely as you're at the conference this year, think about where some of those gaps are, think about the things that are important to you and to others that you're connecting with. And then once our campuses hopefully quiet down a little bit this summer, find those resources and really start working for the call for programs that will take place in August and early September.
One
The other,
suggestion.
go
Oops,
Sharnay.
sorry.
Nope, go Sharnay.
I was gonna say one suggestion I have is Emily kind of touched on it a little bit of like those connections you make. And so there you can present with someone from a different institute from yourself. And if it's a group of you and you're doing a presentation, normally there's similarities and then there's things that you do differently. And putting that all into one presentation can be very well rounded. And so you using your network to build on presentations could be helpful, but also most likely there's someone at your institute that has been in SEAHO for a while and they kind of seen programs and those gaps that there might be. And so they could probably speak to some of that and you can utilize your expertise to kind of help fill in that gap. And also probably present with them because they might be a little bit more comfortable. They've attended multiple SEAHOs conferences and may have presented prior as well. And so you could kind of leverage that.
I was going to say something similar in terms of like finding others at other institutions to present with, but also in terms of topic area, everyone has a passion about something. So start with what your passion is and see how you can translate that into the work that we do. And we have had programs in the past that are about like a professional development piece that's not about your job. So it might be like balance, work-life balance, or, any kind of other topic that isn't like work related. We like those programs too. So if there's a a book you read that you want to present on because you feel like it's pertinent to your work or to your personal balance or what have you. Like you can get creative with the types of programs that you present. So you could also start with a passion area and build from there too. All right, so let's move on and turn the tables a little bit. Let's talk about if I'm sitting here listening to this podcast and I'm like, I love all of this, sign me up. How do I get involved in SEAHO? Maybe you can each talk a little bit about how you started when you got involved, first got involved with SEAHO, and then whatever advice that you have.
Yeah, I think for my first season, well, first, how to get involved. The involvement form is open right now, so plug for that, where you have the opportunity to just choose and submit your interest in involvement, and then also with a couple rounds of the involvement fair at the actual conference. So we're gearing up for just the opportunity for you to meet different people on the various committees. But how did I get involved? Honestly, I saw a guy who I interned with at a different university, and he was the senior housing officer. And I'm just like, hey, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to the corporate partners committee. And I'm like, what's that? He's just like, just come check it out. And so, me and my young, naive graduate student self, who knew nothing better, just walked into this space. And it kind of just stuck. Over the years, I continued to get further involved on our corporate partners committee, and eventually had the opportunity to apply and become a chair. And so, I think that everyone has, and I would also say like that was not, I would think something that I would be interested in initially. And so sometimes I think you would also be surprised as to like what level of involvement you can find yourself and kind of get into, be open to something that an experience that you may not necessarily know a lot about. If you don't know a lot about programming, and kind of like what that process is, then go check out the programming committee. If you are not sure kind of you don't feel like you have a good assessment background, then maybe joining the assessment committee. Or if you're interested in writing, join the SEAHO report. And so there are a lot of opportunities for you to either have or find a committee or involvement area that complements your experience, but also an area that provides you the opportunity to find growth. So honestly, my best challenge to you as far as how to get involved is find something that is going to either both complement and or grow you personally or professionally.
Typically, there's also a space at the conference with all of like the committees that you can join. You get the opportunity to kind of walk around, chat with the chairs or like a committee member and like learn what it is that they're doing, what are some of the goals, and see how that just aligns with some of your personal and professional goals. See what would like bring you fun and joy outside of your day-to-day work. Like, how are you gonna pay it forward in a way? And I got involved similar to Kenzel, like just knowing someone who was already involved and having a conversation and seeing where they thought I might fit best. Kind of starting with like, what are some of my skills? And so now that I know what my skills are and I got involved, now like I'm looking into, okay, what's next? Like what else can I do? What else can I contribute to? Yeah.
I will definitely echo that. So for throughout my time in SEAHO, my involvement has changed. I've served on, I think, 3 or 4 different committees at different points, until I really found my home, and really love for programs. And so I think that if you are one of our more seasoned professionals who has served on committees, I think kind of to Chardonnay's point of figuring out what's next for you, right? So maybe you've really enjoyed your involvement in a committee. Maybe it's time to try something different and to explore something new. And so even if you are someone who might be a little bit more familiar with our structure for our committees, I still encourage you to go to the involvement fair and kind of learn about what the committees are up to now. I think this podcast is a great opportunity to kind of showcase that there's new and exciting stuff happening in all of our committees. And so even if you're one of our more seasoned professionals, encourage you to check it out, see what's going on now, and figure out what your next.
And I'm going to plug something that's a little bit departure from committees, but it is a gateway to other things through SEAHO, and it's very near and dear to me and others, and that is RELI, which is the Regional Entry Level Institute, especially for younger professionals that are, I'm sure you're drinking from a fire hydrant or fire hose, right? You're taking all this in, you want to get involved, you want to network, but you don't necessarily know how, and maybe you don't even know if working in housing is what you want to do in student affairs or higher education or as your career. Friday, well, it's typically Friday. I don't want to speak on behalf of Emily when they slated it, but typically Fridays is when the Rely session goes on and they kind of talk about what the purpose of Rely is. You meet different faculty. And I know for how I am sitting in this seat that I am right now, Rely was that for me. I wasn't too keen on committees at the time. Despite this outward bravado that I put out, I was very insecure about how I wanted to plug myself because you always want to put your best foot forward, right? Especially with people that are in this field and that and kind of like what Liz said before, they're seasoned, they're well respected, and they command a lot of presence. And where I found that was being faculty on Relied to just do what I thought was just going to be a little bit of facilities. I was going to meet some people. One of those people I met is in my bottom left quarter, Emily, and I also met Liz. And what that has turned into is where we're sitting now and getting to see what Emily has done, where I met Kinzel as a first-time mentor when I probably needed more mentorship than I was able to give. But you don't know unless you reach out and do that. So there are opportunities. If you don't know don't know what you want to do, in my personal opinion, that's the best place to be, is to be able to immerse yourself and see that other people don't know either. But if you're willing to extend yourself a little bit and lean into vulnerability, opportunities like Rely or just working on a committee really open up doors to where you can find that place like Emily's programming, corporate partners, whatever it may be, can put you there. Because I can tell you, as much as I come across as this, I was terrified. I was, but the I don't want to use that, sounds like a Fast and Furious family is what I got from this. The camaraderie that I've got from it has paid off more than just the professional. Yeah, it's awesome. I've lost my words. Liz cut me off.
So yes, to everything that everyone said, I think for me, my first, I think official SEAHO job was the fourth year cohort for Relay during COVID. Because I had been really involved in Akuhoi and not SEAHO, so I kind of got a bridge from Akuhoi to SEAHO. So echo what Wesley said. However, I'll throw a different thing out there. If you're sitting here like, I'm not going to join a committee, if you're going to SEAHO 2026, you can volunteer. That is a great way to just give back and get to meet people without committing to a year-long committee. So be a program moderator. That's one program that you have to give your service to. I'm sure if you go to the volunteer table at check-in, Raquan's going to be very excited to give you a shift. And that's 2 hours that you've just sat there. People are going to talk to you. They're going to see you're a volunteer. You're going to say hi. You're going to do whatever your job is for volunteering for that shift. And you've now just gotten involved in SEAHO. It's a short-term commitment that maybe will inspire you to do other things. So for those who want another option, that's a low-risk way to get involved as well.
Liz, I'm so glad you brought that up. That's like one of my go-to tricks as I volunteer because it's easy. It's a no-brainer. You get there, they tell you what you're doing. And like you said, you're sitting there, you get to meet people, and you feel like you're really doing something for the conference, which you are. So.
For sure.
Well, I know we are getting close to time, but the question that I want us to finish with, and this is for everybody, and speak from your own experience, however you feel led. What is that piece of advice that you would give a first-time SEAHO attendee that comes to SEAHO 2026 here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina? Ooh, I like that. It's marinating. Oh,
I say while they're thinking, I will say, let yourself have fun. SEAHO is a good time, and I don't mean just personally. Like the sessions, the speakers you're going to hear, the people you're going to meet, the things you're going to experience, whether it's the night on the town in Winston or the hospitality night or all the wonderful things that they're going to offer this year. It's just a lot of fun. Let yourself be able to be vulnerable and take risks and do something that you maybe haven't done before. But really, if you let yourself just enjoy the conference and everything that it has to offer, hopefully you'll just have a good time and really get inspired. I know when I go to SEAHO, I leave with my cup full for a variety of reasons. And so hopefully if your cup isn't full yet, you'll get full while you're there. If it was already full, you'll overflow. But hopefully it can also be that re-energizing moment that you need to kind of take it all in and go back and go back to your institution. So that's the one advice I would give.
So, I'm thinking about it. I'm going to SEAHO. Really, I'm just driving 10 minutes downtown to go to SEAHO this time. I think I got a good end or a good deal out of this. I would definitely say, and you hear this a lot in this field, you will truly get out of this what you put into it. Truly. I remember my very first SEAHO. I'm going to date myself one more time because we're already there. February 2007, Lexington, Kentucky. I remember that SEAHO vividly. There are others that, I remember things, but I remember that one from the time I got there to the time I left. And the people I met that I get to talk to in official capacities now, and just being able to see that, sometimes when you've been doing this field and you put people on a pedestal, and then you see how the sausage gets made, right? And being able to understand, as kind of what we said with corporate partners or other, these are just people doing the best job that they can. And when you're able to hear their stories and be vulnerable and be willing to be poured into and pour into others, you will truly get out of this experience what you put into it. um and I realize that's easier for some people than others. I was kind of guarded at first, but when you allow yourself to kind of, we talk about the SEAHO magic, when you allow that to kind of seep in and steep a little bit, the connections that you make, I don't just see the people on this call as my colleagues. For me personally, it runs much deeper than that. If I left higher ed tomorrow, I would stay in touch with the people on this call and beyond. And you don't just get that from being professional and courteous to each other. So that is the advice that I would give a first time attendee. So, y'all.
Um, so in order for you to like make those connections Wes is talking about and to have fun, like Liz is saying, just prepare, like really prepare to be present in this space. Um, you're gonna have life back home, you're gonna have work back home. And so what are you doing up into SEAHO to prepare for you to fully be present in this space? Like what type of work that you need to delegate and, have done before you leave. How do you set up your personal life, your house? Like prepare because you're going to be fully there from morning to night, and that's whether you're participating in going to programs, but then there's after hours things that you might want to participate in. And so just make sure you have that time set for yourself and you're not worried and stressed about like what's going on back at home.
I think for me, something that I will reiterate, I think from so much of our conversation, is that SEAHO is for you. I think so much of this, especially as a first-time attendee, thinking back to it, I walked into the room and it felt like a family reunion. Everybody knew everybody. It's a very welcoming space. And I think sometimes as a first-time attendee, it could be like, dang, like I don't know those people yet. And so I think remind yourself that we want to welcome you into this professional network. There's a place for you, there's a session for you, there is an experience. There's so much of this conference is going to be able to offer you. And so if you're ever having that moment of doubt, where you're like, is this for me? Yes, it's for you. And so find a friend on this call, a colleague, someone that you know to help kind of bridge that gap. But just remember that you belong in this space, and we're really excited to welcome you to Winston-Salem and for all of the connections that you'll be able to have at your first conference.
Yeah, I think that what everyone shared, cosign. I think that if I could go back to my first SEAHO, which again, like Leslie, I'll be dating myself, February 2015, Mobile, Alabama, I would say two things. Be flexible. Whether you might be driving 10 minutes away, 3 hours away, or 8, 9 hours away, how you're flying in, be flexible in that SEAHO experience. My first SEAHO actually did not go so well, at least trying to get to the SEAHO conference itself. And so I think for me, as I reflect on that, be flexible in that maybe not everything's going to necessarily work out correctly or the way that you want. Maybe the program session that you want to go to is full. Well, have a backup, or maybe some of the activities that you wanted to do you might not necessarily be able to do. But be flexible and be comfortable and be willing to experience new things, taking advantage of the opportunities that are afforded to you. This is for the 3 days or so that you're there. Taking full advantage of it in however way that you can. And again, I think like Wesley said, whatever it is that you put into it is exactly what you're going to get out of that experience. Then I think the second thing, and Liz said it earlier, do not, under any situation or circumstances, but you're probably going to do it and it's fine, do not forget to bring your business cards. So there's definitely going to be that time where you're just like, oh yeah, and you're just like, oh no, I forgot. Do not forget your business cards. So be flexible and don't forget your business cards.
Kinzel, you had me hanging on the edge of my seat here, like absolutely under no. I'm like, oh gosh, where's he going? Whoo! Yes, don't forget those business cards, folks. Well,
Excellent. Yes.
excellent.
So as we wrap up, thank you all for sharing your experiences, thoughts, and everything SEAHO. We are excited to welcome you all to Winston-Salem in just a few weeks. My goodness, it's going to be here in just 2 weeks. Have fun, pack your business cards, pack your walking shoes if you want to, because it's going to be walking. It's going to be great. I can't walk in heels, not speaking for anybody else. I'll have my sneakers. But come with your openness, your open-mindedness, and your willingness to connect and get to meet new people and hope to open up your new experiences as you're here with us in Winston. All right, everyone. Check us out for our next podcast. Follow our podcast. We will have more episodes up by the time you listen to this, and we will see you at SEAHO 2026.